Benjamin, what's going on? Alright, so basically today what I'm going to do is go through and show you all how to bind to a port 1024 or lower without having to use sudo privileges, okay? So basically you can use your regular user to go and bind to a port 1024 or lower, which normally requires root privilege access to bind to, okay? So basically, let's go ahead and get started. What I'm going to do is go through and, of course, first open up a terminal, and from there, what you need to do is install an application. And what it is called, so I'm going to go first off and type in the regular stuff, so sudo apt install here. And then what we're going to call it's auth, A-U-T-H, auth bind. I'm going to tab to autocomplete, and I would love if it would just autocomplete for me here. There we go. So, no, don't do that, ZSH. So sudo apt install auth bind, and as of course you guys and gals have guessed, I've already installed this, but we're going to go ahead and just quickly install it, or quote-unquote show that it's being installed. As you'll see, it's already the newest version. Okay, so we go ahead and install auth bind, okay? And the way we use auth bind is by going through and creating a specialized rule file, essentially. And so in this context, what we're going to do is use the port rule. And to do that, we simply go through and do sudo. And in fact, actually, before I even do that, I'll go ahead and just show you what I mean by that. So if I go ahead and do ls, I can do tab or /etc, okay, and then auth, tab to autocomplete, and then by, and so if I do tab to autocomplete again, it will list by address, by port, or by UID, okay? And so what this basically means is that we will create a configuration file in one of these directories using specified rules to go through and let a user bind to that. And so in this instance, we're going to be using by port. And so once we set up the appropriate file, it'll be basically looking at the port and looking at the user, and from there kind of letting us bind to it, you know, if it's correct and all that. So basically we'll do by port, so PO and tab to autocomplete again, and I'm going to go through and actually just complete this by typing in 80. This is not a thing that's actually that exists yet, but what we're going to do is create the file named after the port. Okay, and so what we'll do is if we want 80, we'll create the file called 80. If we want 90, we'll create the file called 90, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so what you'll do is, of course, do sudo touch, okay, etc auth bind by port 80 as the file, press enter, and then from there, if of course we go back here, we can just list that information here. So if we do ls, it'll show that it is of course existent, which is great. So we're going to go ahead then and do sudo, okay, and we're going to do chmod, and we are going to only give it read and execute permissions, okay, so that's going to be 500, and we're going to only give that those permissions to the user. So what we want to do then is actually change ownership of the file to the user or group that you want to have access to that port, or bind to that port. And so I will do, of course, CHOWN, and then for my user profile, which is Abaddon, I will do ABADDON colon ABADDON, which basically just means both the user and group are specific to Abaddon. Okay, so sudo chown, and then we're going to own that file. Okay. At this point, we're pretty much good to go to test and see if we can actually bind to port 80 without using root privileges. So what I'm going to do is go through and go to my downloads folder quickly here and do a new file, and I'm going to just call it index and .php, okay? And from there, I'm going to go ahead and open up a quick text editor here, and from there, I'm going to do this. And did I drag the file in? Yes, it looks like I did. So we're going to go ahead and then do this. We're going to do PHP question mark. Or actually, is that question mark PHP? Yes, it is. Not that way. Excuse me. And then PHPINFO parentheses and semicolon, of course, to go through and finish up the file, our test file. Okay. So once we've gone through and done that, what we do is go through and I'll just change directory to downloads here. Okay. DOWN, come on, downloads. From there, what I'll do is I'm going to use PHP's built-in web server kind of like application to host this particular directory location. Okay, and so I will simply go through and actually preface the command with authb authbind tab autocomplete and type in php, and then I will do tac capital S, capital S, and then in this instance I'll be just doing 0.0.0.0, that's 4 zeros, colon 80. Okay, and so what 000 is basically means use any available address or address essentially on your machine, so either the local host as well as the LAN address, etc., and basically, you know, set up to listen on those ports, or to have listening on those ports, etc. Okay, and so again, like I said, we were prefacing authbind PHP, and from there this allows us to use port 80 to host information, and so we can of course clean up our our URLs. And as you see here, it has http://, and so if I'm going to make sure I click on this to make sure that I am selecting the proper window to open this open, I'm going to do control click on that to open up the thing automatically. And as you will see, of course, we get our PHP version info, and you will note too that we no longer have to specify the port on for the address. We can quite literally just go through and do whatever it is that we want to connect to. Okay, that's really cool and helpful in terms of just like going through and hosting applications. If you want it to be, host a specific application on your local address or local area network, and have just a clean URL and stuff like that, or to just basically not have to mess with other configuration files if it's already default set it to 8080 or 80, Okay. All right, that's how you can go through and bind to a address lower than 1024 without root. Thank you very much for watching. Please rate, subscribe, tell me what you think, and I will talk to you all later.